What is going on, guys? In this video, we're gonna see if you are more suitable for a dark roast, a medium roast, or a light roast. Whether you're a dark roast person, a light roast person, or a medium roast person, we have it all covered in this video. And we're gonna explain towards the end of the video which roast level has more caffeine content in it. Let's go. So right in front of me, you can see we have 3 different coffee in a cute little jar. 3 different coffee and 3 different origins and 3 different roast level. Here we have our light roast. Here in the middle we have our medium roast, and at the end we have our dark roast. Now let's talk about our light roast coffee. This is our Kenya Kiriganya. Let me just pour out a little bit of the beans. And show it to you, right? So this is a sample of our light roast coffee. Maybe from the camera you can't really see the difference, but in real life, let me tell you, you can't see the difference, right? So light roast coffee. If you are a person that likes to taste the complexity, the nuances, especially citrus notes, orange flavor, lemon, strawberry, blueberry. Yeah, some of you are wondering, oh, can you really taste those in coffee? Well, dive into light roast. So if you're a person that likes all this complexity, more towards the pleasant acidity note side of things, well, you're suitable for a light roast person. Typically, people who like light roast, they would use things like Chemex or like a V60 or Kalita wave or some sort of pour over, right, to get the best flavor out of the notes itself. Now, this Kenya beans we've just released it for about a month, and it's selling really well. And I think it's a really suitable light roast coffee for those introductory people who like to get into lighter roast coffee, but you're not so confident, not so sure if you're a light roast person. This is good because it has a blueberry notes, but at the same time, it has that body that you're looking for in a coffee, right? Some light roast coffee, the body is really light and it doesn't really taste like coffee, right? So for those of you who are looking for complexity, acidity notes, light roast coffee is suitable for you. Now, this is my all-time favorite, medium roast. Let's talk about it. Medium roast coffee, it's a coffee that is generally can be used in all situations, any time of the day, in any method. Now, what do I mean by this? I use the medium roast coffee, be it a Columbia Supremo or our Genesis blend. I use this in the morning for my batch brew, which is my filtered coffee. I use this for my espresso with milk-based coffee. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty about a medium roast. If you're a person that is looking for a balance between acidity, sweetness, and notes all combining together in a nice balanced cup, look for a medium roast coffee. A medium roast coffee gives you that complexity, but at the same time, it doesn't give you the overbearing sour notes that you're not looking for in a coffee. You're looking for sweetness, you're looking for a heavy body mouthfeel, right? A mouthfeel coffee, a strong coffee that gets you going in the morning, right? So this medium roast coffee is suitable for you. Now let's go to the dark roast. In the specialty coffee world, our dark roast coffee are not as dark as store-bought coffee. So let's say if you go to a giant grocer and maybe pick up a brand, I don't want to name the brands, but pick up just a random famous brand, right? Look at their dark roast and you compare it to our dark roast coffee, right? If you look at their dark roast and you look at our dark roast, specialty dark roast coffee usually do not go as dark as store-bought coffee. The reason being, in specialty world, we at the end of the day, we still want to retain the flavor notes of the origin itself. So for this Sumatra Gayo Mountain, we roasted it to a dark roast, but at the same time, we want to retain the earthy, the charcoaly taste that comes from this origin itself. So we don't want to burn out and over roast the coffee that all you taste are just bitter notes, right? So now let's get back to dark roast. Who is it for? It's for people who like a little bit of bitterness. You like that kick of that bitterness maybe early in the morning. You like the very heavy notes and earthy notes in your thumb and in your mouth. Dark roast coffee, suitable for you. There's your difference: light, medium, or dark. Light tends to lean to its acidity side. Medium, it's a balance between both acidity and bitterness. In the middle, you taste the best cup. For me, in general, I think a medium roast, you will not go wrong. Dark roast, those of you who love the bitter notes and the grassy notes and not grassy, more earthy notes, go for dark roast. For me, on a day-to-day basis, I will use the medium roast. And if I fancy myself to make myself a pour over, or I want to taste like the origins of the coffee, blueberries, strawberry jams, light roast coffee, right? Light roast beans. Now, last question: does dark roast coffee have more caffeine content than a light roast coffee? Well, let's talk about it. Actually, let me put two of them aside. So, to answer your question, does dark roast coffee have more caffeine content than light roast coffee? The answer is no, it doesn't. Say whatever you want, I've done a ton of research, it doesn't. But, now there's always a but, there is a truth to them saying that a dark roast coffee cup generally has more caffeine content than a light roast. Why is it? Now you have to understand the roasting theory, right? As a bean or a green bean goes through the roasting process, what happens is moisture tends to evaporate and get out of the bean itself. So a typical, let's say, a typical 5 beans might weigh 5 grams, right, before roasting. But after roasting, it might only weigh 4 grams or 3 grams because what happens is about 15% of the bean's weight will be lost throughout the roasting process. And if you roast longer, the more weight it will lose because more moisture content would be released. Now, why am I explaining to you this? Well, it's because if you take a Kenya Kiriganya, same single origin coffee, you roast it to a light roast, which typically takes about 11 minutes, and then you take another Kenya Kiriganya, you roast it to a dark roast, maybe 15 minutes. 11 minutes versus 15 minutes. What you will find, the differences between them is not only the colors will be different, right? This will be lighter, that will be darker. But what happens is in a single cup of coffee, when we measure with weight, okay, having a scale, if you take 18 grams of light roast Kenya and you measure, you might get 20 beans, okay, 20 individual beans. Now, if I take a dark roast coffee and same Kenya Kiriganya, I measured same 18 grams and I count the number of beans. Now this time the dark roast Kenya would get me maybe 25 beans instead of the light roast of 20 beans. So what does it mean? At the end of the day, both are the same gram, right? 18 grams, 18 grams. But this has 20 beans, this has 25 beans. So it just means that per bean, right? Per weight, we have more caffeine in the dark roast just because there is more beans. 25 beans. Here you have 20 beans, right? The caffeine level stays the same. It does not change. What changed is the number of beans that you have in a light roast and a dark roast. So I hope that explains to you the difference between a dark roast and a light roast and how when people say that a dark roast cup of coffee generally has more caffeine content, they are typically true, assuming that the weight is equal and assuming that the single origin of the bean is the same, comparing to a light roast. So there you get it, right? Dark roast coffee, 18 grams. If you use the same beans with a light roast coffee, the dark roast coffee with the same weight would have more caffeine level. Well, I hope this explains to you guys what the differences are, and tell me in the comment section down below, are you a light roast person, medium roast person, or a dark roast? Here at His Brew, we believe that coffee is all about preference and choices, and don't let anyone tell you that a light roast coffee is better than a dark roast coffee. If you love your coffee to be bitter, to be dark, to be nice, go ahead, do you. Get the dark roast coffee all the time. Don't let your friends influence you. But be open and explore and try the light roast. If you still do not like it, go back to your dark roast. Don't let coffee snobs tell you what to do, right? At the end of the day, this world of coffee has too many opinions. People have too many opinions in their minds. And they think everyone are like them that like light roast. Well, not everyone is like that, right? Here in Malaysia, I think more suitable people would go either with a medium or dark roast. Well, the light roast coffee is for those coffee geeks. That's what I would put it as. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you understand a little bit now on the differences. And go brew yourself a cup of coffee and tell me, what do you like? See you next time.